Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting for January 5th, 2016. I just want to let everyone know this meeting is being recorded and broadcast on local cable television. Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. First item on our agenda tonight is the student advisory report, and Kylie is here to give us the update.
Hello, Happy New Year. So, not much has happened since the last time I was here. I think it was the week that we had vacation, but we had the inaugural Deck the Halls event, which went extremely well because all of the grades got into it. There were people bringing in whole Christmas trees and complete with lights and stuff, and just things like that. We had spotlights, I think, in one hallway. So it was just awesome to see everyone working together, and the seniors won, so we had a little hot chocolate and cookie party. So that was a good way to kick off the vacation. And we also have Snowball in a couple of weeks. The tickets go on sale next week, and that's always very exciting. I think it's one of the school events that's most anticipated by the students. And then we also have midterms coming up as well, which is a little bit stressful, but they're a little ways off. So the only other thing is that a lot of the seniors are excited now because the final deadline is over, so we can sit back and relax and just wait for the results.
All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Happy New Year to you as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda are the minutes for approval for the regular meeting on December 15th and the budget workshop from December 4th.
Move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting on December 15th and the budget workshop on December 4th, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes pass. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the school resource officer report. We have Kevin and Ricky and Patrick here to tell us all about it. Jane, if you want to go more of an introduction. Welcome.
All right, so while Kevin is doing that, one of the reasons why we thought it was important to have this presentation tonight is because this was something new that we added this year in collaboration with the police department, Chief Breen, We now have an SRO who is at all of our schools, at the elementary schools, at the middle school, and at the high school. And so Ricky is the assistant principal at the middle school, Kevin is the assistant principal at the high school, and we thought it would be a good idea for them to share with you what the impact has been since Patrick Curran has come on the scene. Is it not coming up, Bob?
Google Drive is just
Turning.
Can you put a Chromebook on that, Bob? Oh, okay.
worth the wait.
A taser. Do you want to try that?
Someone I could try.
Well, for anyway, we can start with introductions. I am Officer Pat Curran, new to Linfield Police, March of this past year. I guess, sorry.
So he's going to start off by talking about his experience, his previous experiences, how he's gotten to where he is.
So I came to Linfield Police March of 2015 from the town of Winthrop, where I served as a police officer for about 4 years. Prior to that, I guess I started my career working in treatment with juveniles, adolescents, in a residential program for the Walker Home and School, based out of Needham. Sorry, I'm just running out of breath here. I then went on to become a supervisor in an adolescent treatment unit at a program for the Home for Little Wanderers in Brighton, which again acted as a residential treatment facility. I then went on to work for the trial court for a period of a few years out of Roxbury, Dorchester District Court, and then Essex County, working with juvenile courts. And then I continued that to work for the Massachusetts Department of Youth Services, doing gangs and warrant apprehension assigned out of Boston. So, of course, that somehow made a good fit here for Linfield, somehow. So here I am in Linfield now, and I've been appointed as the school resource officer, juvenile officer for the town of Linfield, starting this school year. So I guess right now, I guess the qualifications that brought me in here were my experience working with juveniles in different settings, including school, treatment, as well as community, and having them all work together. My experience working with juvenile courts and probation, and social service agencies. So one of the things that, of course, we had to do when we implemented the school resource officer program is obviously become certified as a school resource officer. So through that, my affiliations are with the National Association of School Resource Officers, who actually do the certification, which is a week-long training program that was conducted up in Manchester, New Hampshire, where they discuss a lot of the different models of policing, as well as policing in a school environment and setting. I'm also affiliated and a member of the Mass Juvenile Police Officers Association. I have been affiliated with them for a number of years through my time with the police, as well as the court system and Department of Youth Services. And through that, we talk about, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We're going off the script here a little bit. Not working there?
Yeah, I think it's a problem with wireless connection.
Okay. So of course we had some great pictures for you, and that they forced me to have taken for the presentation that are in there as well.
So to start off, I actually took some time to go around and talk to teachers and students and see what they have to say about having a school resource officer. And I didn't say anything, I didn't mention Officer Curran. I just said, how do you feel about having a school resource officer? That's the question I asked everybody. And I thought you'd like to hear some of those answers. So I had some teachers tell me that he's another adult in the building who's not a teacher, but someone the kids can relate to. The kids seem to be drawn to him. They really like the idea that expectations extend beyond our walls, so beyond our walls of the building and out into town. They feel like he's a comforting presence. He's a friendly face in the hallway, and he's in the hallway talking to students, building relationships with kids, and the kids have an additional resource, someone to go to in the building. They also do, the teachers said that they're not, worried about security, but it is an extra layer of security. The students, a little more animated, said things such as, I feel safe at school and Officer Curran is so nice. He sits with us at lunch and asks us lots of questions. I see him at Market Street all the time, and he always says hi to me, knows me from school. He's a trusted adult, words from students. He's a trusted adult. When he's around, I wanted to talk to him because he's so friendly. I see him at Market Street a lot, and he always stops and says hi to me. I love that he taught our health classes. He explained things well and gave us lots of examples from his experiences. And then some of the students said, basically, with all the stuff that's on the news lately, they do feel safer having him around.
One of the things that we talk about, especially through the training in the school resource officer school, is the school resource officer position is a very unique position within a police department. It's a different style of policing. One of the things that we're taught to really kind of focus on is the SRO triad model. That our role isn't just the police officer in the building. We're not here just to arrest. And so what they call the triangle is teaching, counseling, and enforcement. So obviously trying to balance those three angles inside the school community while being a police officer. It can be kind of, sometimes a juggling act. And I guess to explain it, here we are in Linfield, we have 2 elementary schools, we have a middle school and a high school, and I try and make, of course, most of my time is going to be at the high school and the middle school level with an appearance at the elementary schools. Of course, my role in each of those settings is quite different. The elementary schools, obviously it's more a friendly face saying hello to the kids and answering questions and things like that. My role there might be more like traffic related or parent related if there's issues going on in the home. The middle school is again more interaction with the kid, more I guess relationship building, trust building, trying to do more of that prevention type training and teaching. As we get up into the high school, again, that role kind of changed a little bit more, and now instead of just, focusing on the prevention, we're dealing with a few issues as well, and trying to, again, have an equal balance on that teaching, counseling, and enforcement situation that's going on.
There you are.
Yeah.
Good running. Apologize for that. There's a little issue with the wireless.
So speaking about the ad that he was explaining, I've seen that firsthand from my very first collaborative conversation with a student with Officer Curran. I knew, because I wasn't sure, because it was my first, my first collaborative conversation, so I wasn't really sure of his background or how much I needed to coach him, or, these are the things that I'm thinking, what is he going to say? And so through that very first meeting, I knew that he had plenty of experience with adolescents, and he knows where kids are coming from. He's very comfortable speaking with students on a variety of issues, and the counseling aspect is really important, because all middle schoolers make mistakes, and they just need to know, need help through it and figure out what they can do to make it right. So that to me was huge.
Good evening. And the slide you see here, meeting the needs of all students. When we think of a safe, comfortable learning environment, we think of the district strategy. And what I think of that, I think it extends so much more than just the school itself. I know that Pat has a tremendous presence in the community, and the students know that, and that includes the presence online and social media. And it's just another set of eyes and ears, not only in the building, but on the outside as well. And he's privy to information and vice versa that we know where to patrol at the appropriate times when I refer to social media. And you'd be surprised at what you learn. And I think it's a tremendous win-win for hopefully I think I can speak for the police department, and I know it's a win for the school. We're just so fortunate to be in this position that we are now. I haven't worked in this community for several years now. To me, it's a no-brainer in terms of it's not a surprise anymore when that police cruiser is a consistent presence and the kids know it. And when I say another set of eyes and ears too, we all have access on all of our devices to the cameras. And I think it's helpful to know that where those potential problem areas exist, and again, when you think about being proactive in a school environment and in the community, it's all about communication, and it's all about having the resources to do that. And I feel like, although it's very early on in the game, this is similar to when I think we presented about technology. I think if we were to sit here a year from now, I think you'd be just so impressed with the strides that we're going to make as we move forward. So we are in the beginning stages, but I think it's tremendous in the sense of what this role does. It's just not about school, and I give him plenty of business at the high school, but I can tell you that he's been a tremendous resource at all the schools, and I think the building principals would tell you that as well.
Yep.
So we have that.
Yeah, so the communication piece, I think, is quite obvious in the building with our support staff. Now that we have a full-time adjustment counselor, with our guidance staff, special ed, you name it. When we get our special ed, our support staff together, and we talk about at-risk students, we make sure that Patrick is involved at the appropriate times in those conversations. And when you look at the whole child and you look at the social emotional piece, that it's important when we mention the word proactive to understand the whole child, because of potentially what that leads to down the road, and understanding what services we can put in place before it becomes a bigger issue. And what's not so obvious is we belong to this community collaborative initiative, which that involves the district attorney's office, the superintendent sits on that committee, the school principals, myself, Ricky, Department of Mental Health, the Department of Children and Families. We have representatives from all the different departments that come together. Probably once every few months, I'd say we actually get together and we talk about what's going on in the homes. We talk about what's going on in the school. We talk about what's going on in the courts. And that's super helpful to all be on the same page in terms of communication. And then we bring that information back to the schools. So I think that's been another good avenue of
And of course, when we're talking about juveniles, obviously, sometimes we find there are some issues about communication between the different agencies, whether it's district attorney, police, and schools. And obviously, sometimes with those legal issues dealing with juveniles and criminal activity that may be occurring, there were some barriers, but now there is, there has been an MOU in effect now for a period of time, allowing that communication to exist between the school, the police, and the district attorney's office.
Yeah, that MOU refers to the Memorandum of Understanding, and that's in all of I believe it's in all of the school handbooks. I know it's in the high school handbook, and that's an important partnership to have, open and honest communication with the police department. I can't say enough when I think about visibility with Pat, and Ricky did a nice job mentioning the relationship with students, the relationships. To me, that's the most important ingredient. And Pat is constantly having those conversations informally in the hallway, in the lunchroom. In a short time, he knows a lot of the kids better than I've known the kids, and for the extent that I've been here. And I'll tell you, it also affords, I think I can speak for you as well, us more of an opportunity to focus on teaching and learning. The nature of this job is you are just pulled in so many different directions. You can't predict your day on a daily basis. And it's not that our presence is not still needed, but it's nice to know that, we can be in a classroom during the lunch period, or I can be post-conferencing with a teacher, and I think that those, or perhaps I need to, deal with another student situation, but just to know that perhaps it stalls it a little bit in terms of we're always involved, but otherwise, we were for the most part, we're the go-to person in the buildings, and it's nice to know you have that support, and it's really important when you talk about teaching and learning. And I've just been very impressed with the relationships that Pat has made with the students.
Of course, a lot of that and a lot of what's been occurring since we started the program this school year is, trying to determine a baseline, I guess, for the culture of the school, culture of the community, even the baseline for the individual students themselves. just trying to understand, who they are, what they're about. And obviously, just having those normal everyday conversations is giving me a way to determine and maybe identify if there's something specific going on in that culture or in that individual student. So that's one of the main reasons why I try and, have many interactions with as many students as possible, so that maybe we can kind of see some signs that are being put out there about kids that might be having, in a bit of a tough spot. And whether it's something that, maybe I see that maybe I should deal with directly, or it's something that I might want to involve the adjustment counselors in, or the guidance staff, or the vice principals themselves. And so that's why, I spend a lot of time, trying to get to as many of the after-school activities as well. Trying to, see, them performing in the drama, whether it's the sports, football, basketball. Tonight they have a game going now against North Reading. And so, a lot of, you'll see here is a picture of the cafeteria. Obviously, that's a good spot where it's outside of the classroom learning environment that, again, we'll have those conversations. I might throw some ideas out there about, maybe something I saw on Twitter or Instagram that might be a concern, that I just want to get an idea of, if it's a serious issue or not. And it's not so much an interrogation, it's more just trying to be preventative, let them know that I know something's going on, to have that thought in the back of their head that, hey, we got to be careful, somebody's paying attention and watching, and we don't want to cross that line that might get us into trouble. So that's, again, part of that prevention piece. Although some of the students are telling me that they're still scared of the vice principals and they are more afraid of them than they are of me, I think that, which is fine. It gives us a good opportunity to kind of let them know, where we are and that we're paying attention and that we're involved in what's going on in the community and at home. I make sure that I talk to them about stuff that's happening outside the school, and they also know now that it's getting back to the school staff and administrators that need to know certain pieces of information. We're trying to make sure that they know that communication exists and is strong.
And it's so important for the community to know, and it's not, when students approach him, it's not that it has to be a police matter. And you made a great point about, a day like today, and if I'm tied up in administrative leadership team meetings, they're very important, but no, but to have a student approach Pat and say, you know what, this doesn't arise at all to a police level, but they have a concern, and Pat, perhaps the adjustment counselor is tied up, but guess what, that you're going to make sure that gets to the adjustment counselor, and I'm going to be in the loop in that when I get back to the school, and if I need to sooner, I will be. So it's nice to know that it's not about yes, we're not a school with crime. We're not saying we have crime all the time or police. We need police action. It's one of those where it's a really nice thing to have a sense of security and another real go-to resource in terms of preventative. And I think that's important, being proactive and having those conversations.
And it's my hope, I think all of our hopes, that the community, parents, students all see us as working as a team in the best interest of the kids in this community, because that's really what it is. I have students who go to Officer Kern, they'll ask to speak to him about something that they don't feel like I need to get involved in, but they want his advice on something. It might be something outside of school. They'll ask to talk to him, and that's fine. We're glad that they have somebody to go to that they're comfortable talking to.
And the uniform doesn't scare them away, which is a good thing. I think the biggest question I get every day is, everybody, all the kids, especially even the older kids, everybody. I think it's every day somebody asks me to tase them, or hey, what's that? Can I hold on to that? No, you can't. Sorry. So we try and make that clear, but that's an everyday question that sometimes comes up.
So we tried to make that clear. We had an assembly introducing him in the beginning of the year, early on, and talked specifically about that and about what his role is and about things that they can reach out to him about, that he's an additional resource in the school. So we really tried to make it official that he's a part of our community, school community, and is available. We also have done social media assemblies, and those went over really well. We had a good time doing it. It was nice to have, an additional person who had even more information than I had. So that was great. In the beginning of the presentation, he did bring up a couple of things on Twitter and had it up on the So as some of you may know, we have standees of myself and Mr. Ralston in the building, and the kids had taken some selfies with them, which we said was fine. So then we'd always be with them, so they'd always have to behave. But they had, just posted them friendly, fine, on Twitter. So Officer Curran brought them up, had them on when the kids entered the auditorium, and they were like, where did they get that from?
Plus, they posted on their Twitter account, so
Plus, they posted it on the Twitter account. So that was kind of neat. So they thought, oh yeah, I guess people are watching, and I guess they know what's going on. So so that was really great. And then the feedback I got, it was that one was during parent conference week, and parents came into parent conferences saying, wow, my kids were, they loved the assembly. They whatever was said to them made them think twice about their social media. So I was really glad to hear that.
we got a lot of questions out of it too.
Yeah.
I think we had
Yeah.
a lot of student questions during
Really
the
good,
assemblies.
thoughtful questions.
Which
Yeah.
typically you don't get, especially, as a police officer, you don't have too many kids in a group setting especially. One-on-one they might ask questions, but, in a larger group assembly, they were actually asking questions pretty easily, which was surprising.
Yeah, that hits the nail on the head. We talk about proactive education because guess what? Those students are going to end up at the high school, and I think it's good. I'm grateful that you're running those programs at the middle school. So I'll say that we present as a united front. We started with class meetings at the start of the year at the high school with Pat and introducing Pat as well. As we're starting to get a feel for the school, or Pat more so, the school and the community, and we highlighted some issues in this youth risk behavior survey last, was it spring or fall, where, I think we know that substance abuse is still a concern. So we do plan to meet with the classes going forward and talking about some of the issues that that are being seen both inside and outside, and just trying to be proactive about the education there and making good choices, which we're always doing constantly with the guest speakers we're bringing in. Almost all the speakers focus on healthy choices, healthy decision making, but to hear it from Officer Curran, myself, Principal Clary, as a united front, I think it's important for the adults that really care for them and are in the trenches with them on a day in and day out basis to hear it from us as well. So as we move forward, as we continue to evaluate, we'll be looking at more of a whole class approach, assemblies and whatnot. We are planning a mock car crash once again for most likely in April. We do that every other year at the high school, which is more of the pre-prom awareness. And again, let's make sure we're making good decisions. Working closely with the fire and the police department, they've done a tremendous job with usually extensive coverage from the news media, which is it's good. I mean, the more we can get it out there and to showcase the importance of that, we plan to do that again in the spring. So.
Just to talk about Mr. Sears' topic about, obviously, the survey showed some concerns. One of the things that we did start at the middle school this year is that I've met with every 8th grade health class for a period of 10 days, or 9 days, I believe, just to go over some of the questions during their substance abuse topics. And so here's an example of a tweet that was sent out by Ms. Weeks of us working with the 8th grade class, answering the questions, just talking about story, basically sharing experiences, sharing different perspectives on, legal ramifications as well as school ramifications. And one of the points that I made during, that class was that, this is just, this is one of many conversations that we're going to be having with these students in the coming years. Some of them are going to be formal, like this classroom setting. Some of them might be an assembly type activity, but they're also going to be those conversations one-on-one about some concerns you might have about maybe some type of decision making or substance use issues and concerns that might be going on in the community. And so again, that was I think well received by the 8th grade class. That discussion and that forum, and understanding that this is not just a one-time discussion. This is going to be, taking place in some forum for the next couple of years as they graduate high school.
Yeah, the comments from there, it was especially girls who said that I was not in the class, but so the examples, they kept harping on that the examples that you gave and things that you said really stuck with them and made them understand better. So.
As far as a parent-student resource, we haven't talked as much about the parent component. The CRA process used to be referred to as the CHINS process, child requiring assistance. Occasionally we do have students that we go down that route with, and families. And I think it's helpful, just rather than before we get to the court and we have to move forward with the CRA, even having that conversation with Patrick, with the family, with myself, just to say, hey, this is where it's going, and if truancy continues to be an issue, or the habitual offender takes place, and they continue to abuse school rules, those conversations, having those proactive conversations with the parents in the school resource officers' presence, I find are quite helpful. And when I say I find quite helpful, this is something that we've done in the past. As you know, we've had support from the police department, just not as in the role that we have now, in a full-time role in the schools. So I think that's an important step. And same thing, if once they get wrapped up in the CRA process, having a liaison with the probation department, with the parents, with the families as well. So just having another resource there along the way, and just trying to steer the student on the correct path before they get further wrapped up in the CRA process. And the goal there would obviously be to come off of a CRA and get back on track without the court intervention. So.
And I think we've seen that parents at both middle school and high school level, especially, obviously, have been reaching out and leaving voicemails, calling, locating me even after hours at the police station or at the school during the school day, looking to have conversations about more community-based concerns with their child. So we have seen that already taking on a life of its own. Without so much, I guess, advertising that I'm here, but I think they're becoming more and more aware of it and utilizing that resource already.
Yeah, most definitely. Because it always, regardless of what's happening on the outside, typically it'll impact the school day. So I think it's nice that parents know that we have that resource as well. The unhealthy relationships with restraining orders and whatnot, I think having Officer Curran again is another real advantage for us in terms of trying to navigate those relationships, those situations, having that go-between with the court system. I think that's something that we continue to struggle with. We continue to educate students about, but as you know, the high school is that difficult age where we still see unhealthy relationships, and we will continue to counsel kids and making appropriate choices and what to do if you're involved in an unhealthy relationship, and how to get out of an unhealthy relationship. So it's nice to have that resource there. With regards to suspensions and reinstatements, occasionally Pat will step in, and it may be as simply as saying that X, Y, and Z could potentially happen here. There's always a potential criminal side to a situation. Our goal is not to lock kids up, but it's so that the families understand the seriousness of where this could go. And I think that's helpful to have Patrick there as a resource as well, depending on the situation.
I think it's also important to keep in mind, and for the parents to understand, that he's a part of the team. Like, he's a part of our team now. He's going to be involved in meetings like that. It's not because there's a legal issue necessarily, but it's because he's a part of the conversation and communicating with us and an additional resource.
So where do we go from here? I think it's, like I said to you earlier, I think it'll look very different a year from now. And we're still in the very beginning stages of assessment in terms of still solidifying what your role is, what it should look like. We really haven't tapped into all avenues of where this could go, and we're excited about it. We're going to continue to need certain resources and support from the community. One thing that we're going to want to, we continue to talk about from a leadership team perspective is safety planning, and making sure that we have some consistent safety protocols in place across the district. It's part of the strategic plan as well, something that we're going to look at in terms of making sure that we're all on the same page, making sure that we are prepared in the event of any scenario that may come our way, being as prepared as possible. So it's something we're moving forward, we're really going to work closely with the police department on, and that's evacuation plans, that's potential lockdowns, all types of options that we're looking at there. I think a good first step is Cop Sync 911, but there's so much more that we can now be doing. That's to build off of that. So I think moving forward, we want to look at that closer, district-wide.
And I think we're getting a lot of feedback from even the staff about that. They're very eager to see that, more and more. They are asking, even approaching me and asking about those types of rollouts and planning and how, Cop Sync 911 kind of will roll in with the rest of it. So that discussion is ongoing and happening now. We do have the upgrading surveillance system company.
Yeah, we're hopeful. We're still hopeful for an upgrade in the surveillance system. We've been able to identify some of the dead zones within the buildings. There's certainly, I think everyone here knows where we stand in terms of the cameras in our position as assistant principals are vital in terms of what we do, and in terms of making sure that our students are safe. And we're hopeful that is next on the list. Yes, upgrading the surveillance system will be an important key to what we're trying to do.
And of course, after our first year here with a police officer in the buildings working with the school in this role, obviously, there's going to be a lot of discussion that's going to be happening after this, even now, going forward in planning for next year. Exactly, what we thought worked, what might not have worked, how we want that to look moving forward in terms of implementing best practices, for the students and staff in the Lynnfield Public Schools. I think that's about it.
Questions? Any questions?
Excellent. No, we're all set.
Sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for all this.
Thank you.
It's a great presentation. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the high school program of studies.
And so Bob Clary will be coming up, and he will be sharing the information with you, and it's all inside of your packet.
So if you look at in the folder, there was a last edition, a couple of English classes, if you saw that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I put that in today. We submitted it last week. We're still waiting to hear the usual from NCAA on a couple of things. So if you can't see that, I have paper copies of it too if you don't have it. So it's just two courses of the senior electives that we had. So.
Last minute English.
Anybody see, or you want paper copies? It just says last minute.
I have it.
I'm just going to go through the changes. So there's the PDF that is changes, 16, 17 program of studies, rather than going through the 40-something pages of the program of studies, something like that. So it's in there for your reference, but we do this every year. We'll kind of just talk about what the major changes are. There aren't a lot this year, to be honest. There's a couple of additions as we look at possibly expanding some AP offerings. So if you look at the first couple pages there, a lot of it is just kind of cleaning up some language and a little bit of some of our 21st century learning expectations. The other thing, obviously, the course selection calendar. As we look at change those dates so we get an idea of where we're at, we'll be handing this out. Our first talk, it'll be at the end of January, is what we normally do. And then that Monday, February 1st, will be the course selection night for parents. That'll be not only high school parents, but any 8th grade parents that want to come up and listen on that night as far as what's going on. Mike Moresco and I will be down at the middle school probably that week, somewhere in that, probably on that Thursday, January 28th. We'll have a conversation with the 8th grade students about what their requirements are so they have an idea of what's going to happen, and we'll kind of introduce the program of studies to them at that point in time. Then you can see some of the different deadlines and dates as we get their information in and start working on our program and our course selection. The next one there, page 4, rewritten description, our drop ad policy. A part of it used to talk about the first 2 weeks and then at the progress report time, where we don't really do the progress report anymore at the halfway point, where we do basically a bi-weekly update on Edline. So we just changed some of the wording in there, and we talked about giving kids a bigger window to make that decision. sometimes within the first 2 weeks, there might not have been quite enough assessment to really know whether you feel like you're getting overwhelmed in a course and need to drop down or be able to move from there. So some of it's just giving some options for students that might want to try something and then realize, I think I'm in over my head. Can I move back down is really kind of typically what happens. But we look at that drop ad to try to get kids scheduled and fully scheduled. That gives a little more leeway, and it's a little bit clearer as far as what the expectations are if you do move, what's going to happen. You see on that first thing, it says English none, but there are the two. There's horror, fiction, and writing, and then literature of the Holocaust, which are two additional courses that have come up. So again, through some of the other classes that we've taught, obviously we're seeing some favorites that come up every year from there, and then some other requests as we keep polling and surveying students as to what there might be an interest in. And in both of those were kind of the information, the kind of types of books, and some of the information there have been what have come through, and kids have said they have expressed an interest in that, and also having a teacher that has an interest in it that would be liking to share that. And so again, every couple of years we'll add a few in there and take something out to see try to keep it current and try to keep it interesting for students. So, Dorothy, did you have a question?
Because I don't have it in front of me, are they half year or quarter?
Yeah, they're semester course. So all of our senior English, here, let me give this. Does anybody else need it from the paper? So just continue with our senior English electives. Those are all semester courses. So for those, we don't do any quarter courses at this point. Those are just semester courses, but that follows the same format that the other senior English electives are. So again, like I said, we're trying to sort of stay abreast of that and see what are, as we look at it, originally I think we had some 25 different offerings, and obviously we don't run 25 different classes, but each year when we look at if there's something that has never run, then we're pulling it out and trying something else. And the teachers are excited to kind of come up with an area of interest that they might have and come up with something that they want to do. And we say we'll put it in and see if it flies. If we get some interest, we'll run it. If not, then we'll keep making those changes and making sure we keep it current. So then you're looking at foreign language. So you see the addition of AP Spanish. We've had AP French in the past. We just haven't really ever hadn't been able to run it. Again, part of when we start talking about some of the numbers that we look at, and we've had students that have taken an AP class or taken the test, and they've just been in like either Spanish 5 honors or French 5 honors, and we've tried to give them additional work and prep them, and then they've typically taken it I think at Malden is where we've been running them. But Julie Score, the new foreign language department head, had attended a conference this summer and was really interested to see if she could get AP Spanish. I think the numbers might be there for Spanish. French, we might still have to take a look at, sort of a mixed group in that, where it might be certain kids in that French 5 honors, but then certain students doing above and beyond to get AP credit for it, depending on what we do there. So that a lot of that is obviously just depending on numbers. So the AP Spanish is brand new, and then we just reworded the old description of the AP French class was just reworded to mirror what the AP Spanish class, because some of that has been updated also. And again, those have been submitted to AP Central and been approved. So those are in there. The next thing in foreign language, almost everything is in foreign language. Advanced Latin prose along with poetry. In the past, we've run one section, and one year we'll do poetry, the next year we'll do prose as the Advanced Latin. The way the numbers are shaking out at this point in time, we're going to be able to run a section of each, so that typically I think it's the prose will be the junior class, and then the poetry is the senior class. So now as our kids have kind of evened out a little bit, where before it used to be they would come in and do Latin 1, do Latin 2, and then a lot of kids might have dropped out of the Latin program and not taken a language, where now we're seeing students staying with the Latin program. So now, rather than having smaller numbers there that we could just kind of alternate from year to year, the numbers have gotten bigger, so we'd be able to support the two sections there. So we're kind of excited about that. The math change is, again, just clearing up some language about the 4-year requirement. And then you see they're changing FST, so that's our junior math, CP math class. Again, looking at some of the changing in some of the wording there to update topics. Again, based on some of what we're talking about, the redesign of SAT and things that are going on there. We're also just looking at what we're trying to mirror in preparation in the class and kind of as that FST class has evolved also. Then from business, you'll see the AP computer science principles. So there's some clearing up some of the syntax and just the description of the business department. Then the addition of AP computer science principles. We're still waiting for the approval from College Board. Again, that there's some College Board was kind of late in updating that also. So we put that in with pending approval by College Board. That if that's ready to be run this year, then we will do that if we have students that are signing up for that. The next step, just again, some semantics, some changes in Fitness for Men. And then in science, the rewritten descriptions, the environmental sciences, sustainability class, just rewriting it because it has become more of the experiential project-based class. And again, Scott's done a dynamite job of really expanding that, and it's taking on the recycling program and doing a lot of other things. And there's been a lot of great independent study work and projects that have been able to work there. And if it wasn't dark, you could see how the way the gardens program has really grown. And again, even then, students they built a shed for the tools and materials, and it was all in repurposed materials that. Nick Miller did a dynamite job as part of his project to get out and get donations and get the materials that were needed there, and they were all repurposed and reused pieces there, so he did an excellent job with that. And then the other one is advanced topics in science. So again, another just kind of rewording that to talk about the different topics as that has expanded over the last couple of years too, to try to offer students an opportunity as a junior or senior that might not be looking at an AP physics or AP bio or AP chemistry, some of those that are still want to look at trying to make sure they shore up their science requirements and get a lab science in there. And then you're looking from there, everything else is pretty much status quo. Music, there's been some changes just in some of the language, but it's just the fluid nature of our music program, just with some of the descriptions of our independent, the music intensive. So it's just some of the offerings that Tom kind of changes year to year depending on what his kids are, but the overall description of the course is still the same. So that's it in a nutshell. If there's any questions, I'll certainly be glad to answer.
Can I just go back to the very beginning?
Sure.
The change on page 2?
Mm-hmm.
What's the rationale behind that change?
So that was just another way of, when we looked at, as we looked through the 21st century learning expectations and part of that statement of our goals, a lot of it is just to kind of clean up the language that it was the understanding, respect, and tolerance for other cultures and beliefs, just trying to be a little more brief and to the point with that. To talk about understanding of other cultures and beliefs as an all-encompassing statement as opposed to listing out different things as we looked at it.
So are you saying that you think respect and tolerance are incorporated in knowledge and understanding?
Yes. Yep.
Is there, I just skimmed through it this afternoon. Is there anything in here about the dual enrollment program? Is that part of the
No,
program
because that's
of
not
study?
part of the program of
It's not
studies.
part of-
So, no.
Okay.
All set. Great.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nice. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Okay, so tonight I'm going to report out on the professional development day that we had in December, on December 23rd, which was a half day for teachers. Students did not attend that day. So I want to let you know some of the things that our teachers and administrators would be working on. So at the elementary level, there were lots of different things going on. Maureen Fennessy, who was our ELA curriculum director, was working on helping teachers understand K-2 benchmark assessments, and that also included all of our special education staff as well. Third grade at both of the elementary schools worked on science lessons and science curriculum to coordinate with the science standards. Fourth grade at Summer Street School worked on new reading materials, the leveled literacy intervention program, and they broke it down by subject area specific to social studies and science, while fourth grade over at Huckleberry worked on analyzing problems from the Park assessments, specifically to ELA. The specialists at the elementary level collaborated together, so the art teachers worked together, the music teachers worked together, and media and art worked together on Makerspace. So they were collaborating on getting materials for that. At the middle school, it was really a series of workshops that took place, and teachers could actually sign up for the workshops. Most of them were around technology, Google Sites. There were some workshops on team building strategies. Actually, Ricky and Stephen both taught workshops. There was a workshop on mindfulness, differentiation of instruction, communication strategies, the Seratic seminars that are happening at the middle school, and interactive notebooks. At the high school, they also had a variety of workshops that they worked on, including Makerspace right behind us. I actually attended one of those workshops, and it was phenomenal. We actually had 5 of the high school students come in to actually teach the teachers about the Makerspace. We had a demonstration of the 3D printer, of the robots. It was very, very eye-opening. They had a workshop on Chromebook friendly projects, a basic Google Apps workshop, some video workshops, and there was also a workshop on teaching the ELL student. And special education across the elementaries worked on K-2 benchmark assessments. So that's just a little preview of what happened on that day. It was a day chock filled with a variety of workshops that people could work on. So any questions?
No? Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on the agenda is public participation. You can come up to the desk and make sure that the microphone is on.
There we go. Happy New Year. This is my rare opportunity to come on a Tuesday night. I sing with the Reading Community Singers, a community group which includes people from Linfield that sing on Tuesday night, and that's one of my avocations, and I can't miss it. So that's why I'm not here. But this is my first love. Education has been my life. I taught for 38 years. I was also president of the state PTA. That's PTA, not MTA, which was part of the National PTA, founded in 1897. Was at their 100th birthday a few years ago. I also was on the, just before education reform was passed was when I served my term as president of the state PTA. I was also on the statewide committee for a National Science Foundation grant just prior to when education reform was passed in 1993. It was PALMS. It was Partnerships Advancing Learning in Math and Science. And that was where in the state, which is now at the top of all states in education, and our students in Massachusetts also did very well in the international assessments in math and science. And I bring it back to that period in time where we were training teachers and encouraging parent participation in developing hands-on math and science from K to 12. I recently, in June, I was at the National PTA Convention representing the state of Maine. I have served on the Maine PTA board for 20 years. And recently in December, I attended an Educate Maine conference. So you can see that that's an idea of what I've been doing. I also did leadership training. I was on the National PTA Executive Board and did leadership training in the New England states in New York, which was, and all of that was volunteer. my teaching helped to support my habit in PTA. And that is not the same as PTO. PTA is local, state, and national. PTO exists just in the community it's in. There is no legislative activity, etc. So, based on that, I was very offended at the PTO email that went out, and I do hope that you will think about the discouragement that's going on in this community, because it is an example to the children. They are being given an example of how to participate in democratic society. We have political attacks going on. We are casting all of the people that are in favor of one issue in one picture. It was called a broad generalization when I was teaching English. I will tell you that I voted for the school renovation, and I did vote for Market Street. And because I'm such a visible person in the community, I wanted to be sure that that was very clear. I can even tell you one of the key things that was not well publicized about our middle school is that middle school, some employees of the town, which I won't reveal, told me there were space heaters in the basement that was supplementing the heating in the middle school. That wasn't something that was mentioned in all the presentations. But also, when the new windows were put on the old middle school, structural supports were apparently disrupted, which affected the structural integrity of the Linfield Middle School. So those are things that I remember very distinctly were the reason that I voted for the middle school for the renovation project. In Market Street, publicity, that glossy brochure that we got, 8.5 by 11, multi-folded, clearly said that Market Street, by increasing our tax base, would help support the schools and other services in Linfield. So, I hope to put, the one mantle that they put on everybody that was a proponent for the 5 selectmen to rest, with at least telling you what it would be ridiculous for me to be voting any other way with the background that I have in education. I also would like, to tell you that there is a hearing, if you didn't hear it, about Union Hospital closing on Thursday at 4 o'clock at Lynn City Hall. It's a hearing that's being held by the Department of Public Health in Massachusetts. I think the closing of Union Hospital is a very serious situation. And I think we should be thinking about the children in the schools and the faculty that we employ and all the other school employees, and how dreadful that will be if the emergency services available close to us are closed. So I urge your participation in the Union Hospital hearing on Thursday. The contract negotiations are coming up, and I am very concerned with the early release days. They seem to be very frequent. It's not something I've studied carefully, but I know you had some outcry from parents about the early release days. And having been, I was an elementary school teacher most of my career. I taught music in middle school as well, but most of my career was in elementary, and I know how those kinds of disruptions of student learning is really not a good thing for the quality of their education. We only have the children in school 180 days. 185, they are out of school. And so they're actually out of school more than they're in. So though I realize that early release days qualify under state guidelines if you have the right number of hours as full days and they count in the 180, I ask you to consider how damaging too many early release days can be. I also call your attention to just page 18 of the contract. And I think when you're giving 7%, 8%, and 4% increases to individuals, you know, I'm not talking about teachers, but individuals, I think that's a little bit inflated. It's not going on, those kinds of raises in the private sector. And I think when you're using public funds, you should consider seriously what you're doing when you do that. I also would like to see our scores on testing to be compared with the higher school systems and not just with the state average, because the state average filters in what's going on in the achievement in Lynn, Worcester, Lawrence, Boston. I'd really like to see us have high expectations. I know that wonderful educators have high expectations, and so I'd like to see us comparing ourselves to them and really reach for excellence. I have a lot of things to say, but I promise I won't keep you up really late with all of them. I'm also very concerned about Frontline. They've been holding a lot of programs on football, and the 39 changes that were made in players in the play at the National Football League. One of the very startling statistics was that the average high school, this is an average, but the average high school player takes 650 hits in one football season. So, and those hits are not concussions or even subconcussions necessarily. But that is of great concern to me. I would like to see us, I know I'm trying to swim upstream on this one when you talk about the dangers of football. But I'd like to see this community trying to encourage sports that are lifetime for sports, like golf, weight training. I take weight training myself. And not, I also am very concerned. I talked to some of the girls that were doing a fundraiser that play soccer. In the old days, I took soccer at college, and one of our deans had written the rule book for women's soccer. We did not hit the ball with our heads, but I talked to some of our young female players here in Linfield, and they said they are encouraged to hit the ball with their heads. I ask you to question that, because we value, and I know you do, you value the brains of our children. And I wonder what that's doing to their future. Also, speaking of fundraisers, when they do fundraisers from the schools up at the South Linfield post office, I love to go in there and have my card done. It's great, better than having to do it myself. And the price is reasonable. However, the kids stand in the street where that island is between the post office and the gas station. And they also stand on the island and distract the drivers that are driving up to the stop sign. It is dangerous. I would like you to see you change that so that they stand on the sidewalk instead of in the middle of the street, because somebody's going to get hurt, or some driver is going to be distracted and end up having an accident, because now we have a new lane which comes in from if you're at the stop sign, which comes in from the right-hand side and goes very close to the island now. Have you noticed that? So that's another another thing I would suggest for the safety of the kids. As far as the, I'm back to the email thing, we're hoping that we're teaching the children to be wonderful participants in government and teaching them to be attacking people personally, to teaching them to be bullies and liars through email is not the right direction to be taking. The children are learning from that. So I know, Mrs. Trombley, you were quoted as saying that the policy was being changed. I would very much like to see the newspapers carry what the changes are, so something like that doesn't happen again. And even beyond that, to think about the examples we're giving the children in their participation in our wonderful democratic society. Because one of your goals for 21st century learning is to make positive contributions within their community, and we need to be the best we can, good role models of that. I'd also like to suggest that maybe, I guess you don't have an awful lot of people coming to the meetings, at least there isn't tonight. I'm sure at other times there's crowds. But you have, right now, you have a physical barrier between the audience and you. That's not a good psychological thing to do. And you also have people that are speaking to you with their back to the audience as well. So perhaps you could think of a comfortable way to seat people that do come to the meetings that's more community friendly. I won't go any further. I've carried on enough. I'm a woman of few words, as you know. But I appreciate the time that you give, and there's nothing more important to me than the education of the children in a community. And thank you very much for your time and for the opportunity to participate in public participation.
Thank you very much for coming out on such a cold night and sharing your thoughts with us.
Oh, I just wanted to hibernate.
Thanks. Any other public participation? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to matters for action. So we have the hockey trip to Martha's Vineyard. Does someone have a motion?
Move to approve Linfield High School hockey trip to Martha's Vineyard scheduled for February 13th and 14th, 2016.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much for coming.